One. Hello, everybody. This is Gary Yao, and today I have Frank Lopez with me. He's a probate extraordinaire. Frank, thank you to be with me today.
Hey Gary, how are you?
I'm great. Let's
Good.
let's start with it then. Last week we spoke about probate, and we did discuss that you can do it on your own. Now, my question is, no, why would let's say somebody would like to do a probate on their own, and when would they do it? Like, when is a good time or a good idea to do it? Let's hear
Okay.
it.
Two great questions and two great follow-up questions to last week, where we were talking about the fact that you could, when you're in probate, you could do it on your own. You do not have to have an attorney to handle it for you.
Hmm.
Let's talk about the why. Why would you do it on your own?
Yeah.
And it really comes down to the only reason I could think of is cost.
Okay.
No,
Is it too
that's the only
expensive?
reason. It is not cheap. Last week I mentioned that the court costs, the administrative fees just to get the ball rolling with the court is going to be close to $2,000. That
Not
does
too bad.
not include the fees paid to an attorney who would handle the case for you.
Okay.
Um, and that will cost you. It's a formula. It's set by the court. But the bottom line is that will probably cost you anywhere from $20,000 to $30,000, and this is just a real ballpark. If you want specifics on what it would cost, of course, the audience can reach out to me, and I can work up the cost based on the formula. But
Yeah.
I'm just being very generic. So somebody who let's put it this way: there are so many uh, older people that have taken out reverse mortgages
Yes.
that 20 years ago, when there was a probate case, and I haven't been doing probate for 20 years, it's closer to about close almost 50 now. Um, but when I first started doing probate, you rarely saw a house that had a loan against it.
Uh-huh.
Uh, Everybody paid off their loans. Um, but 15 years ago, you never heard of reverse mortgages either. You
Hmm.
never saw them on TV, and now you see them everywhere. Um, and by the way, I'm actually a big fan of reverse mortgages because we do have so many people out there, so many elderly people that have very little income and have their house paid off.
Hmm.
And the reverse mortgage, it makes their life comfortable for the last several years. That's the good news. The bad news is that the equity is depleted over time. So why would you want to save $30,000? Well, if there was a reverse mortgage, let's say you've got a house worth 800,000,
Right.
and you've got a reverse mortgage where it's been on there for a while, and to pay it off, you've got to pay 600,000. So you've only got equity of 200,000.
Correct.
So, and let's say that you have several heirs that are going to inherit that house. Well, they're not going to get this, obviously they've got to pay off the loan, so a lot of the equity goes away there. On top of that, now another 20 to 30,000 has to go to in another direction, which in this case would be an attorney. Then the distribution becomes even less. So in a lot of cases, somebody in this situation will say, well, I'm not going to pay 30,000. I'll do it myself. If I could do it, yeah, why not? DIY, right? So and they'll do it, and they could potentially save that money. That is the only reason. That's the why somebody would.
Hmm.
Um, Now here's the when you should and when you
When you
shouldn't.
should do it. Hmm.
Um, when you should and when you shouldn't. When you should, or I shouldn't say should, when you could, and it might make sense, would be when you have, let's say, one heir.
Hmm.
There's nobody to, ask questions about. There's nobody that you need to have an agreement with. It's
Hmm.
just you.
Hmm.
Um, if that's the situation, then you might consider doing it. Here's the other thing: you better make sure that you've got a lot of time on your hands,
Is it time
because
consuming?
it's very time consuming. It's like taking on a part-time job.
No
So you
way.
can take, yes way. It's
So
it is going to feel like you just took on a part-time job. And if you're already that busy that you can't do that, then it that is it doing it on yourself, what's called improper, what will not make sense. You will do half of it, you'll get frustrated, and you will hire an attorney to do the rest of it. It's going to cost you the same, even though you did the work
half of it.
yourself. The attorney's going to charge you pretty much the same, and you put 6 months into it, and you threw up your hands and said, "Okay, no, I'm done.
Is
This is
that
this
much
is too much."
paperwork involved, or what is it?
It's there's the paperwork involved, and there's just the involvement that I'll give an example. You've got to go to the court. You
How
better
often?
you've got to set aside a half day when you go to court.
But that's one time.
Well, there's several times that there are several court appearances. When you go to court very first time, you better plan on being there. You got to get there early. You got to find parking. You don't know where you're going. You don't know what room you're going into. You're going into a Supreme Court courthouse.
Uh-huh.
It's big. You will get lost. So you need to get there early. You need to pay for parking, and then you need to sit in the room and wait until they call your court case, and that could take hours.
Oh,
And that's just the first one. So it's that sort of thing that you better count on, that there are multiple times that you will have to be there at court. That's just the court appearances. We haven't even gotten into the paperwork. So it is very time consuming. I have to say that the attorneys do earn their money in doing this. So, unless you absolutely, just, that there's not the equity position is thin, and you're saving every dollar you can, then okay, go ahead and do it. Otherwise, you should consider hiring somebody. Consider hiring an attorney.
wow.
Um, here's another reason. Now, here's a reason when you wouldn't do it. One is there are multiple errors.
Okay.
Everybody has to be in agreement.
Mm-hmm.
There will still be one person in charge. One person has to be elected, so to speak, to be the family spokesperson.
Mm-hmm.
So that in itself requires agreement, and not everybody agrees on that as well. But somebody has to be chosen as the responsible party, the what you call the personal representative for the family. Um, here's another issue that where you would where you would not want to do it on your own. If not everybody's in agreement, you absolutely want to get an attorney.
Wow.
You
Yeah.
you you want to make sure that you have an attorney. Another time that you would want to get an attorney is the personal representative has to get a bond. They have to qualify for a bond. Um, we and the and it's essentially it is a guarantee. It's a bonding company. It's like getting insurance. And the judge, because in this case, we're dealing with hundreds of thousands of dollars. If they put somebody in charge of the estate, they have access to money.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the judge it basically says, I want you, Gary, let's say you're the personal representative for the estate. Gary, you have to go out and get a bond. So, because if the bank accounts that exist now, if the money disappears and you end up in another country, living off of that money, we need a bond that says that the bonding company will reimburse the other family members. So,
Do I have to have
I
a good credit? Like, there are cases that let's say I went bankrupt. I'm not good at managing money. What happens then? I'm
great,
not elected
great.
then.
Great question. You have to qualify. So so if you, as the personal representative, are going to have difficulty qualifying, and that could be if you're unemployed,
Yeah.
if you have bad credit,
Mm-hmm.
um, I I think, if I'm not mistaken, they might even check, your criminal background.
Uh-huh.
So you have to qualify for a bond. If you can't get that bond,
Mm-hmm.
the probate will not it stops. It ends right there.
So,
Um,
so what happens to the house?
so what happens?
What happened to the property then?
You hire an attorney, because what'll happen is that's when an attorney will step in and they will find a bonding company. And the reason that you may have trouble getting a bond as you as an individual is that the bonding company asks, well, who's your attorney? Oh, well, I'm the
Mm,
attorney. I'm handling it for myself. Oh, okay. So Gary, you have no attorney. You're handling for the family.
hmm
Oh, and you don't have a job,
Yeah, I don't have a job.
and you have a criminal background,
Yeah, but that was a
and you want us to
long time ago. I'm reformed.
and you're a good guy now. You learned your lesson. So, and you want us to bond we want to give you, you're asking us for a bond of $800,000
Yes, I
in
am.
case you run off, to Aruba with the estate's money.
I promise I won't.
So, that's when you would definitely want to get an attorney, because when the attorney intervenes, the bonding company, again, if we're working with an attorney that is a probate attorney
hmm
that has a history of they probably have a history with a bonding company or companies, and because of that relationship, that makes a big difference.
I see.
So the bond is a big issue as well. So it's not as simple as it sounds. It's a very long drawn out process. um and that's why I say, I said earlier, I do think uh, the attorneys, they earn their, what they get on this transaction, because there's a lot to it. It's usually about a year process. Think about that. From the time that you start to the time that you finish, you're working with the same attorney for about a year.
Wow.
So they're earning what they get paid.
So they do
Um,
earn their salt, their worth in
they
salt.
they
So yeah.
they Y yes and no. And I think I touched on this last week, is not every attorney out there it specializes in probate. It's a very niche, specialized type of practice. Um, and if you are working with an attorney that does not specialize in probate, it could take a very long time. A lot of mistakes could be made. I see it happen all the time. And by the time it's done, you're thinking, wow, this it seemed like it was much harder than it needed to be, and it took much longer than it needed to. So, the one thing I would mention is, if there is going to be an attorney involved, definitely reach out to us. We can give you the list of the attorneys that specialize in this sort of thing. Um,
So you
and
do
specifically,
have a list of attorneys that can
oh
help
yeah,
that
yes,
be
yes.
very niche. Okay.
Yes, of attorneys that specialize in probate. And then we can also, geographically identify, where that attorney is. If you need to find somebody that's close to you,
hmm
we can provide somebody at least two or three names of attorneys that are close to you as well. It's always good to meet in person. Zoom calls, I guess, are doable as well. But ideally, you'd probably want to meet that attorney at least once and go to their office, so we can find somebody that's geographically close to you and specializes in that sort of thing.
Got it. Frank, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but our time is up. If people
Okay.
want to get a hold of you, how can they contact you?
Best number to reach me is 626-281-1111, or you could just Google the Frank Lopez Broker Group and you'll find us there as well.
Thank you very much, and I will talk to you next time.
All right, Gary.